Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Oh, hi, everybody. This is the Rebel Daily News live stream. I'm your host, Sheila Gunn-Reid. I'm just getting straightened into the frame. And my co-host today is the lovely Alexa Lavoie. I love talking to Alexa. I don't get to talk to her all that much face to face. We talk probably once or twice a day, though, over the phone. But it's fun to be able to talk to each other and talk about the news of the day. Alexa, how's it going? AD, I'm sure Alexa had something super fun to say, but I don't. There we go.
I thought you were able to read in my mind. I was like, we are so close that she can actually say what I'm just saying. I said, I'm pretty good. I'm really happy to host with you today, Sheila, because it's always nice to host with you.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We've got a very fun-filled show today. It's packed with stuff. We're talking about the truck convoy and some other things. We're going to talk a little bit about Russia. But I should tell everybody what we're doing and why there will come a time that we won't be broadcasting on YouTube for the rest of the show, and to tell people how they can support the work that we do. So, as I said, this is the Rebel News Daily live stream. Used to just be hosted on Friday just by Ezra Levant. And I know some people get annoyed because I do this little spiel every time that I do the show, but we do get new viewers all the time. And so we do need to tell them what exactly that we're doing. So the pandemic struck. And there's still more news than ever to talk about, but the mainstream media wasn't covering it. And the restrictions are changing day by day in different jurisdictions. And things are moving so fast that sometimes it's not always best addressed in a fully produced video. Sometimes a live stream is the best way to do it. And people used to be able to support the work that we do on YouTube by doing something called a super chat. But then Biden got elected, big tech didn't have to pretend anymore, and they completely demonetized us along with several other conservative platforms. So to deal with that, we still broadcast on YouTube, sort of, kind of, because they don't want us there, and that's how you get more of us. But also, we don't want to abandon the nearly 1.6 million YouTube subscribers that we do have. There are some of you who hate click us, and that's fine too. And there's some of you who just enjoy watching us over on YouTube. So we're not abandoning you. We are simultaneously broadcasting on SuperU, Rumble, and Odyssey, and those are three platforms that describe themselves as politically neutral. They don't care about their politics, and I don't know about their politics, and I think that's how it should best be. You shouldn't have big tech policing the politics of its users. So we are broadcasting over there on those platforms. There are different ways that you can support the work that we do: Rumble rants, Odyssey hyper chats, and SuperU shouts. So you can do that. If you send us one of those, Mr. Producer AD will send it to me in a message, and we'll read it on air, and Alexa and myself will do our very best to address your question, comment, concern, story idea, topic on air. And there will also come a time during the show today that we will no longer be able to continue on YouTube, because there are certain things on YouTube, YouTube overlords. They've decided that there are certain things that we can't talk to you about on YouTube, even if they're factually true, and even if you're hearing about them on mainstream media sources. Because we're conservative, there are certain things that we can't talk about. It'll risk shutting down our channel altogether. So to protect our channel, we will say goodbye to YouTube at some point during the show and invite our YouTube viewers to join us on those other platforms. And I think that is all the nuts and bolts of today, unless I forgot something, but I'm pretty sure I got them all.
I think I will let you brief before we start to chat.
I know, right?
Just like, yeah.
I've done it so many times that I know it off by heart, and I try to shorten it every time I do it, but I never really get it shorter. I just end up talking faster, which I guess makes it shorter for the listener.
Imagine if it was me, it would be like 2 times more longer. So,
well, anyway, as I say, we do have new viewers joining us every day. So for our regular viewers who are sick of hearing me say that, I'm sorry. When I start talking, go get a coffee, come back, and I'll be here when you get back. Now, we should talk about one of the major geopolitical things that's happening in the world right now. Yeah. We'll talk about that right now because it's YouTube safe, and that is Biden talking about sending troops in to Eastern Europe to deal with Russia mobilizing its troops for a potential invasion of the Ukraine or of Ukraine. Sorry, I shouldn't say the Ukraine. I should know better than that. I'm from like Canada's Ukraine, so I shouldn't say that. But this is something that you would never have seen under President Donald Trump. We see China acting up. We see Putin acting up. Iran feels emboldened. The world is a much less safe place now with President Biden in charge.
But I have the impression that, first of all, I don't really know why Biden feel like he needs to send troops. Why we are all the country to try to, I don't know, go into some fight that is not our fight, but I can understand that some people want to join the fight. What I understand, most of it is because of NATO. The Russia tried to stop them to go to the north, and so that is a really politically big deal at the moment. I think it have been accepted so far, but what I was reading this morning, what the Moscow asked for, their new demand have been refused so far. I don't know if you heard a little bit about what was the specific demand from Moscow, but I don't know so far for that.
I've got a whole completely different angle on this. There's a key player in the region that claims to be an American ally, claims to be a key player in NATO, and yet they are truly the ones propping up the Russian regime. And a lot of this has to do with green energy, in fact. And this is why I think green energy is so sinister, and it is a tool of some of the most sinister regimes in the world, China being one of them. They use, they use sort of their exceptionality in the Paris Agreement to develop their industries while we can't. Germany has decided to abandon nuclear energy, which is clean. No greenhouse gas emissions, if you care about those sorts of things. They're also moving away from coal, or so they say, which makes Germany increasingly reliant on Russia. In fact, Germany is the #1 consumer of of Russian natural gas. Gazprom is the company. And the Nord Stream 2 pipeline was just allowed to go ahead. Now, we can't get a pipeline from Alberta to the United States. Biden canceled that, but we can get a pipeline built that will help continue to prop up the Russian regime by getting them access to German consumers. And Germany, whether we like it or not, they are playing a role in jeopardizing the future of a free Ukraine. Right now, Germany, 2 days ago, they have blocked Estonia, so a former Soviet bloc country, from transferring German-made weapons to Ukraine. So they are making sure that Ukraine is not able to defend itself from Russia. That's in the Wall Street Journal 2 days ago. And Germany is helping fuel the Russian war machine through its constant propping up of Gazprom by being a major consumer. There's something the Americans could do here that would limit Russian influence by teaching Germany a lesson about where Germany should be standing on this issue. And that is that the Americans have 35,500 troops stationed in Germany. Pull every single one of them out. Germany should not be entitled to the economic activity that 35,500 Americans stationed there and living there provide to that country. Poland, I think 2 years ago, they offered to President Trump, and they sort of saw all this disaster coming with Russia, as Poland tends to do. They offered President Trump to relocate those troops to Poland, where the cost of living is much more inviting for someone living on an American salary.
Yeah.
And that would have been a major economic sanction against Germany and a very big symbolic move against Germany, inspiring them to cut their close ties with Russia. It didn't happen, and now here we are. But I think sanctioning Russia, I'm not sure that's going to work. We need to sanction the friends and allies of Russia and call them out, because Germany is playing both sides of the fence here.
Well, I should have read a little bit more on it. I can see that you're really more informed than me. Since when you started to look at this conflict? It's been a while.
Quite a while. And it goes back to my interest in green energy and foreign meddling in the Canadian economy. And so some of the anti-fracking sentiment, I'll just go back a little. The decline of greenhouse gas emissions in the United States under President Trump was directly fueled by the natural gas fracking boom there, because natural gas is far less greenhouse gas intensive. If you care about those sorts of things, I'm not sure that I do. But that's what fueled the decline in those emissions. But Russia realized that if the Western world becomes the Saudi Arabia of natural gas, and we really are, that it would threaten their stranglehold on much of Europe as a major gas producer, especially as you could condense natural gas into a liquid and put it in tanker ships and transport it across the ocean safely. LNG, it's called. Yeah. So Russia started to get worried about that. And what they did was, and this came out in a United Nations report, that they started funding American environmentalist groups as part of a demarketing campaign against fracking and against the natural gas boom in the Western world. And they started playing a role in blocking pipelines and blocking energy independence, because Russia knew if North American LNG could get to Europe, all of a sudden they're not so powerful. And for Russia, I think, using their economic influence as a major energy supplier is their way to reform the old Soviet Union, to become the power player in the region and regain their position as like a superpower in the world. And so that's where my interest in all of this comes from, and it sort of flows from there. Yeah. See, this is Germany's reliance on Russian gas limits Europe's options in the Ukraine crisis. And so this is why energy independence is so important, because it does not fuel these radical dictatorships who are going to take over the world.
Yeah, but when we look at Russia and China is all now together, and now they are invited, like most country right now. When we look at China is already into all Africa, and now they are trying to get all the natural energy that the heart have. When they will have all the energy from every country, they will be the most powerful liaison country together. Like Russia and China, they are getting like all over the place. That's really scary. That's what I'm really concerned about. Yeah.
Yeah, and China's got an extreme interest in Africa because it needs access to rare earth mineral mines. And
exactly.
And so that goes back again to the push for green energy. So you need the Western world to adopt this idea that everybody should be with an electric car, right? Abandon your reliable gas-powered car that'll get you through the snow. Forget about that. When it's 40 below, it starts and it gets you where you need to go. But there's this push to get everybody on electric cars. And who does that help? China, because they own all the rare earth mineral mines, particularly in Africa. And those takeovers of those mines are quite easy. It's happening without any resistance. And for a bunch of people in the Western world who so often decry the idea of colonialism, they're sitting on their hands while China takes over Africa.
And I was there. I did like more than 20 countries in Africa, and I can say that if you're deep into some land, you can take for like less than 20 kilometer. You can take a whole day, and when you pass to the road that is built by the Chinese, quickly you can pass through the country really fast. But you can see it's all Chinese contractor everywhere, and you can see everywhere like that it is China. To Morocco, to I was in democratic Congo Democratic Republic. It was just all Chinese road.
I believe it. And we're just going to let them do it, apparently.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. We should, since we're talking about China, we have this really weird video from Bill Gates. And every time I think these people are a bunch of lizards walking around in skin suits, and then I think, no, Sheila, that you're being just a judgmental conspiracy theorist. Then they act like lizards wearing skin suits. So why don't we talk about Bill Gates? Why don't we roll that video?
I want to wish everyone in China a very happy Lunar New Year. Just as the tiger symbolizes vitality and health, our foundation has continued to work over this past year. The recent troubling and highly contagious Omicron variant means the COVID-19 pandemic is not yet over. Since the onset of the pandemic, China has worked hard to not only contain the virus, but also contributed to closing the equity gap by supporting other countries with many different supplies, including great vaccines. I'm hopeful that by the end of this new year, the COVID pandemic will largely be over. I was also thrilled to hear the news that in June, that the WHO had recognized China's remarkable success in defeating malaria, declaring the country officially free from the disease. So, like many of you, I believe the world can become better, and I know that innovation and collaboration are key to getting there. I look forward to once again being able to travel to China to see all of you and this work in person. But for now, have a wonderful holiday and a very healthy and happy New Year.
Alexa, your face says it all. Go ahead.
Is it not, I don't know. Is it not two-faced to do that when we know that USA is blaming China to have spread the first COVID-19? And now they are doing this nice holiday, or thank you for your help, thank you for what you're doing, but in another way, or bullshit for, sorry for that, but you are the cause of everything. But in the same time, oh, Happy New Year, and thank you for your help, for whatever you did and what you bring to us. That doesn't make sense.
It feels a little bit like an ISIS proof of life video, you know, like where there's a guy standing over top of you with a gun or a knife ready to cut your head off, unless you read this script. You would find less glowing things in that than what I saw there. I was writing notes, but I don't know how much I can say on YouTube.
Exactly.
When he's talking about how much China has contributed to the fight against COVID-19 by sending supplies out. That's not quite how it worked for Canada. Justin Trudeau rounded up all of our PPE, our medical PPE, sent it to China. Then when China was supposed to return the favor, we sent 2 airplanes over there to pick it up. And they sat on the tarmac and came home empty because China never delivered our supplies back to us. They had people going around the world rounding up PPE for themselves. And what that left was the Western world flat-footed when the pandemic came to their doorstep. But thanks, China.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything.
Because Canadian doesn't remember that our supply that we had before we sent it over, because we were like, we have too much, we don't need it at the moment because nothing is happening. So we took every supply that we had, sending to them, and now it's like, oh my God, something happened, we need, and we received this And it was really good supply that we had. Like we talk about really surgical mask and really nice supply. And we received in exchange some blue square masks.
Yeah. Remember the videos too of those being made? Have you ever seen the videos of those being made in a Chinese factory? Yeah, they're just like laying on the floor.
Yeah,
People on their
I saw that
shoes.
one.
Yeah.
I saw
Great.
that. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, like, why doing this kind of message when we know that something is going on? I don't know. We will probably never know, but it's too strange to do it like this kind of happy holiday, thank you, and thanks for never return. Probably what we
Never
did
never
for you. Yeah, thank you.
never. And there's a lot of things that we could say that China did and didn't do during the pandemic, but YouTube will nuke us. And I want to talk about the truckers and their protest because that's still YouTube safe. And so the people who are still with us on YouTube, we should talk about that. So if you got all your news from the mainstream media, you would not realize that there was a trucking convoy that started in British Columbia, and it is going all the way across the country to protest the vaccine mandate for truckers. These are not, as the mainstream media will tell you, and one horrible Alberta senator named Paula Simons will tell you, unvaccinated truckers. That's not what these guys are protesting at all. Guys and girls, I should say. They are against the mandates for truckers. They're against coercion and forced vaccinations and the nonsensicalness of it all. So I know a thing or two about the trucking industry. My husband works in oil field trucking, although he's not a truck driver anymore. He mostly just sits in his nice pickup and talks on a radio. But my father-in-law used to be a long haul trucker. He's also in oil field trucking. And a lot of the truckers never get out of their trucks when they're picking up their load. So they just back in, Swamper or somebody else hooks them up. When they go deliver their load, it's decked off and that's it. So these guys are in no contact with anybody else. And for the most part, you're living out of your truck. If you're a long haul trucker, you usually have a sleeper. You sleep in the back of your truck cab. So this is like their house. This is like making you be vaccinated for your mobile home, like for your RV. You know, it's so ridiculous. But this is what Justin Trudeau has mandated for them, and it's also the same going the other way. So a lot of these Canadian truckers who are protesting in Canada are showing support for their American trucking friends who are in the same boat. They can't come into Canada, so they're sort of grounded and separated. And so we had Drea Humphrey covering the truckers as they sort of went through the Lower Mainland very early yesterday morning. She said before church, so that's early for Drea. And we have some footage of that.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy. A couple years ago, we had a convoy of trucks roll out of Alberta all the way to Ottawa in support of Canadian pipelines. And then there were sort of smaller convoys happening all across the prairies. And so that like honking is music to my ears. But last night I was in Edmonton and there were probably 2,000 people there to greet the truckers and to give the ones that were leaving from the Edmonton area a send off. And I will tell you, the mainstream media did show up. They sent 2 camera crews. That you can tell they're from the mainstream media because of their overly expensive cameras that don't do anything more than my cell phone. And then they stand way back on the road wearing masks outside by themselves because they're the mainstream media. Nobody wants to talk to them. And so they stand out on the road by themselves and they did not set foot inside the rally to actually talk to a single person about why they were there. They didn't bother to knock on a cab of a truck and talk to a trucker, none of that stuff. But you will read coverage in the mainstream media about why the mainstream media thinks these convoys are happening. But it's all just their speculation because they never actually talked to a real person involved in it.
Yeah, but it's what they do too when they have a protest in the street. They are staying like really far away. Like if everybody have the peg But they are really scared of, I don't know, probably being harassed by them. But at the same time, they are there for freedom. They are there really peacefully. So they probably should join and ask questions to them. But the thing is, I think the mainstream media doesn't want to show what they have to say, because that can change a narrative for some viewer that they have. So they prefer to stay away, take some shot, and afterwards they can create their own story, because they don't have anything else for material to show.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with BC. They had to change their story after the fact, but initially they wrote, they're protesting road conditions. Then people are like, yeah, no, they're not. So then they're like, oh no, there was two separate groups of truckers, and these guys were protesting road conditions, and these guys were protesting vaccine mandates. And I thought that's really interesting that you thought, even if that second, or if that first convoy even existed, it's interesting that that was the one that you chose to cover, by the way.
And on this article about the maintenance of the truck, the lack of maintenance, I took the picture. I look at the picture, and the third truck was wearing in the front of the truck. You can see it if you zoom it. It's a flag of Canada, flip-flop.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean like lack of maintenance. That means that where the Canada is under bad occupation.
Yeah, it's a sign of distress.
Need help. Yeah, distress, and we need help.
AD, I don't know if you can go to my Twitter feed. We had just a video of maybe 1/3 of the people that converged on the truck stop west of Edmonton last night. I had to climb a snowbank just so I could get footage of everything. And it was like 3 times as much by the time the truckers finally got there, because they were delayed. DOT, so Department of Transportation, opened some scales and slowed them down. So they had to go in through the weigh scales and have all their log books checked before they could go on. But you can see all the cars. Those are people who've driven in to show support, all the truckers in the background. And so this is like at 4:30. Truckers didn't even show up till 7:30. And this place was packed. It was all down the roads. Like, see that road there? It was just full of people. People were carpooling in. There was not anywhere, I think, within a kilometer where you could park later on. The parking lots across. And this is a major truck stop, so they have so much parking, but it was just packed. There's like 1,000 people on the other side there. It was just insane. Wow. People showed up with food for the truckers, soup. A mom and her kids they had cookies that they had brought for the truckers with a little note thanking them for taking the time to go all the way to Ottawa to defend the future of our country. It was really heartwarming to see. And nobody there really was like, I mean, I'm sure there's always people like that in every crowd, but there were not like rabid anti-vaxxers. These were just people who are saying, no, we just don't believe in the coercion. Whatever side of the argument you fall down on, it doesn't matter. This is between you and your doctor, your family, whoever, not you and your government and a border guard.
Yeah. It's your choice. It's your choice to decide what you want to inject into your body. That's it. It's not the government should decide. It's a doctor, and you should decide with your doctor. And especially if you don't feel that you need it, don't take it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is the letter. This is the letter the lady was giving out to the truckers. We'll have to zoom in. I still have this note in my Jeep, by the way, and I did eat the cookies because that was all I had for supper, because I thought I would be out of there a little sooner. But it says, thank you for standing up for all Canadians and the Canada we loved. Thank you for standing up against division, segregation, and hate. Thank you for standing up for the children of Canada. We will inherit the consequences of what the grown-ups of our country let happen. Thank you for standing up for our right to decide what happens to our body and us kids' right to play, participate, and just be kids. Thank you for choosing to transport goods so we can have what we need. Thank you for taking your time in your truck to bring Ottawa to a halt and bring the whole country and to bring our whole country to its knees. It should not have to happen this way, but we are ever grateful that someone is standing up for our future. Cookies make everything better. Hope these cookies make your long ride better and that you get so much support along your journey. Thank you from the Kids of Canada. And so this mom and her kids had baked hundreds of these cookies, and they were going to the trucks and giving them out. Some people are in their trucks, but some people are in their personal vehicles, and they've joined the convoy too. And this mom and her little kids were out there sending a message of support to them. And those are the kind of people out there. So when you see the mainstream media saying, oh, this is a bunch of sexist, white supremacists, whatever they use to discredit them, if they had taken a minute to wander into the crowd, they would have seen a lot of wholesome goodness like that. And when I was there last night, it was like a family festival. There were kids throwing snowballs. These little kids had brought their little Power Wheels truck, and they had put their Go Truckers sign on the back, and they were driving around their little electric truck. It was super cute. But that's what it was like. It was just families just showing support for the people who literally keep the economy moving every day. These guys have worked 21, 22 months without a vaccine. If we didn't have them working at the beginning of the pandemic, we never would have gotten through it. Yeah. And now they're being thrown out like garbage, like our healthcare workers.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited because I will be in Ottawa when they will all arrive. We talk about people getting from Stansted, Saint-Bernard-de-la-Colle, where it's actually close to Roxham Road. We will have people from BC, people from all the province as Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. And I'm really excited to see all of them all united and reunited in Ottawa. Probably Ottawa will be jam, because if we talk now, I've heard so far 60,000 trucks, but I think it will go to almost 150,000. They want to occupy Ottawa until the decision of the federal flip. We'll see if that will work. I will be there. And that happened the same time on the 30 in Montreal, where the restaurant, some of them will reopen their restaurant as well. So everything will happen in the same weekend. I don't know, same like the truck driver was same thinking of, after they are done with Ottawa, they are planning, some of them, to move to Quebec because of the Legault government measure administration that is one of the worst. And it's because everything starts in Quebec for all the decision. So they are planning probably to go there and say, hey, we are there too. So you are not going too far too. Like you will taste what we all just did for the federal one. We are going for the provincial one.
Some of the truckers are saying, some of them are saying they're staying until the mandates are lifted. Some of them are going to have to come home, and some of them are carrying on. So it'd be interesting to see how that shakes out. But I think, to your point, this is the first real national movement against the mandates. There have been, restaurants that opened up in Alberta, and there have been churches that opened up in Alberta, and gyms that opened up in BC, and freedom protests and curfew breakers in Quebec. But this is the first time that it has been from all provinces, people joining together to fight the vaccine mandates for truckers. But I mean, this is really, as we were talking in the live stream meeting this morning, this is about the middle class getting squeezed out. And so the power is concentrating at the elite level, and the middle class, we're just supposed to shut up and do what they tell us. And I know a little thing or two about truckers, and they're not inclined to go. You don't get into long haul trucking because you want somebody over your shoulder telling you what to do all the time, by the way.
But the middle class, if they are not rising and standing up right now, they would transfer on the lower class.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it. And it's now or never. It's you talk, you stand up, or you close your mouth and you comply. But if you do it, you will live with the consequences that will be there for years and years and years and years and years, probably for the rest of our life. So
Yeah.
You took the decision to stand up, to change the thing, and to decide that your future need to be better of what is going on right now.
Yeah. Mr. Producer AD whispers in my ear that we should get off YouTube. But before we do, I want to show a few images from Calgary. So there were people waiting out last night for the truckers to come. And like I said, the truckers were 2 hours late to go through Edmonton, and it's 4 hours roughly by truck from the west side of Edmonton to where they were ending up in Calgary for the night. So people were on the overpasses all along the way. They were waiting in Airdrie, they were waiting in Red Deer, they were waiting in Leduc, they were waiting in Calgary. And so we had our team out there late last night, like midnight and later or earlier, depending on what side of the day you're on. And we had super fun. Our team in Calgary were in the air this morning in a helicopter, flying around the skies of Calgary early morning to catch the trucks where they were staged and to watch them pull out. And we have Mocha Bezirkin. He's embedded on the convoy to tell you the other side of the story, because you're definitely not going to get the truth of the convoy in the mainstream media. So that's what we're doing. And to follow along with all of their reports, this is on one of the overpasses. Look at that. This is how great this is, you know. But to follow along with all of their reports, you can go to convoyreports.com. And at that same website, you can pitch in to cover the expenses, because Mocha's renting a car to follow along with the convoy. So he'll be there from Calgary all the way to Ottawa. He's going to incur, you know, hotel expenses along the way, and gas and car rental. And he, you know, he's not a big guy. He eats pretty cheap, but there will be food expenses too. So if you want to help out, go ahead and pitch in. It's at convoyreports.com, because otherwise all you're going to hear is the mainstream media on this instead of actually from the truckers on the ground.
And they will probably try to discredit them and say that
100%.
Oh, you know, like everything that bad, and everybody for looking them like, why they are doing that? They are crazy. No, they are fighting for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't wait till an avocado goes up to $10 a piece, because maybe the like pro 5 booster people, they'll get mugged by the reality of what a trucker means in the supply chain and what they mean to the cost of your favorite exotic food from the United States and Mexico. When your favorite trendy millennial food goes sky high, maybe they'll realize what these mandates are doing.
Because think about it, at minus 37, nothing is growing up here.
No. No, I would have scurvy so fast. This is another thing. So Pastor Art Poloski, great guy. He was out last night to meet and greet the truckers, to offer them some food, because they had left very, very early the very same day from BC. That's a long drive. Roads were treacherous last night, by the way. It was freezing rain and then snow on top of it. So, I mean, just a stressful drive. Driving in a convoy is actually kind of stressful and hard. You have to be constantly aware of everything around you. You know, it's just, this is the best of Canada that we're seeing here. And it makes me so angry to see how they're painted by the mainstream media. It really frustrates me very much.
But it's the first time I've seen the history that all Canada all together. Like, you know, like sometimes it's like, oh, the French, or the English side. And now it's like, oh, everybody is in the same problem, and we are all together, and we love each other, and we support each other. I think it's been a while I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's great. You know, like it's a national unity project, and everyone's united against Justin Trudeau. So, so
Mhm.
I couldn't be more pleased about it.
Yeah.
One of the things the ridiculousness of it, the whole vaccine mandates for truckers things to make everybody safer. And I know we're getting dangerously close to having to evacuate from YouTube,
Yeah.
but there was a trucker last night who an immigrant Canadian trucker, by the way, from Eastern Europe, it sounded like. He was a long haul trucker. He said, "This is my first load back in Canada in I don't know how long, because I normally haul back and forth." But he said, "I'm too unclean to cross the border. So now I'm hauling medical supplies to hospitals." I'm like, "Oh, okay, so you're too unclean to cross the border, but you're just perfectly fine to handle medical supplies going hospital to hospital." Science strikes again.
Especially when we think about we should all send them to Roxham Road to cross over and just like, hey.
Yes, such a smart idea.
Yeah. Maybe they would close it at that time.
Yeah, finally, that's how we'd get Justin Trudeau to close the road. Now we should sign off of YouTube because I feel like I'm getting dangerously close to jeopardizing the company's YouTube channel. And like I always say, I always thought it would be David Menzies that gets the YouTube channel nuked instead of me. So let's sign off of YouTube and invite our YouTube viewers to join us on the other platforms so that we can continue these dangerous conversations over there.
Yes.
And Mr. Producer will let me know when we're clear. Okay.